I grew up in the Philippines. At a young age, my parents introduced me to God's love, so I got to know about God and His Word at a very young age. When we moved to Canada, around grade 11, I took world religions. And in world religions, we got to learn what other faiths were, essentially. And because of that, I got interested and I started seeking my own truth. And I took a truth from this religion and I took truth from that religion. And I used that as a basis to form my definition of what love was about, what success was about, and what the purpose of life was about. And at the same time, I also experienced some suffering in my life, which made me ask why God would let that happen. And because of that, I turned my back against God and I walked away. Through high school, I felt lost and I didn't know what to do with my life. So I decided to join the military, hoping to find that purpose and that discipline that I needed. And yes, I did find those, but with it came some bad habits as well. I started to swear in every sentence I could make. I partied a lot, couldn't say no to alcohol, and I smoked marijuana until I passed out. I was essentially turning into a person I didn't want to become when I was younger. Fear and anxiety crept up to me during the worst parts of my training, when I was stuck in the middle of the ocean, or when I was in the middle of a field in freezing temperatures. I found myself seeking God, praying to Him to help me overcome these situations, and I couldn't explain why. One day, my friend came up to me and asked me a very simple question. She asked me, "Do you know the good news of God?" And I couldn't answer her. And that question really cut deep because I grew up learning about God and His Word, but I didn't know what it was. And that's what prompted me to go back to church. And at the same time, someone invited me to come to Bayview Glen. And at first, I just liked the music. But it wasn't until Pastor Terry did a series about the fingerprints of God. And when I took a step back, it made me realize how much God has been working in the background of my life, how much He's been pursuing me, keeping me safe, equipping me with the necessary skill sets I need, because He knew that one day I would be back in His presence. Recently, I was involved with one of the missions. I went to Dominican Republic in order to teach English to the youth there. I found it very uncomfortable because it was my very first mission, but despite all that, I decided to obey God. And when I was at the camp, I still questioned God and asked, are these kids actually learning anything? Are they experiencing the holy presence of God? But it wasn't until the last night where I experienced something amazing. About 20 of the youth answered the altar call and accepted Jesus in their lives. And it was amazing to see because in my discomfort to obey Him, God used that to impact the lives of those around me. And because of that, my faith in Him has grown so much more. And I'm excited to see what God has in store for me in the future. And I'm more excited to see what God has in store for us as a church in the future as well.